VIBEZ.
Welcome to a new video. Today, we will talk about self-control, 3 techniques to develop a will of steel. I don't know if it happens to you too, but there are days when I have this vice, this irrepressible desire to shake off goals, commitments, and good habits, to immerse myself completely in pleasure. This vice is like a good glass of red wine. At first, it deceives you with the first sip. Then it envelops and intoxicates you with a sense of freedom and lightness. Finally, it leaves you dazed and guilty. We are not automations. Giving in to temptation from time to time may be okay, but systematically giving in is catastrophic. Self-control is in fact what really separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. This ability, whose mechanisms are regulated by the prefrontal cortex, allows us to plan our actions, to evaluate the best option among multiple alternatives, but above it all, allows us to stay away from what we might regret. Today's video talks about this ability of ours. Specifically, we will debunk together the #1 myth about self-control, and we will see 3 strategies to be put into practice immediately to be more disciplined. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Let's start. Self-control is not repression. Many of us are convinced that having self-control means continuously repressing our impulses, thus feeling a sort of perennial inner battle. This idea is not only unhealthy, but as shown by a 2010 study, it has exactly the opposite effect. The more we try to stifle our instincts, the more these, after a short period in which they are tamed at great cost, come back with greater force. But you don't need a study to convince yourself of it. I'm pretty sure you have already experienced these psychological mechanisms on your skin. Maybe you wanted to find your ideal weight, and after the first very hard days of diet, at some point you completely worked out, finding yourself in short time with more frustrations and more pounds than before. Maybe you had decided to be more organized, but after implementing a very complicated system of to-do lists, calendars, archives, and notifications, you found that you were wasting more time and finishing less. Maybe you had promised yourself to prepare for that exam by studying tirelessly, only to find yourself with a desire to study under your shoes, or arriving close to the exam date absolutely unprepared. The more you oppose yourself and try to repress your wrong behaviors, the more they become stronger. To achieve true self-control, you cannot rely on the repression of your instincts. Like a wise samurai, you must learn to observe them, to know them, to exploit them. So let's see what are the 3 most effective strategies for not giving in to temptations and developing a will of steel. Number 1, duty first, then pleasure? No way. If you continue to set new goals and new habits as if they were unpleasant duties, I assure you that in 90% of cases, you will fail in your intentions. We have just seen it. Developing one's self-control cannot be a struggle against ourselves. Stop playing the role of the masochist. Learn to love your goals and take pleasure in the daily actions that allow you to achieve them. I know that's easier said than done. So here are some practical ideas for adopting this new mental attitude. Don't pursue goals that you think are socially acceptable. Pursue goals that you are deeply passionate about. As Albert Gray said in his famous speech, find an exciting purpose. The phrase, duty first, pleasure second, is totally ineffective. Instead, replace it with more pleasure and duty. Think about the goals you want to achieve and constantly ask yourself how you can make the actions that will allow you to achieve them more enjoyable. Do you want to improve your nutrition? Find healthy and tasty foods that you can prepare with simple recipes. Do you want to get back in shape but hate locking yourself up in the gym? Find a fun sport to practice outdoors. Does studying bore you to death? You're most likely not adopting your natural learning style. Find the study techniques that suit you best. In short, use your imagination. No limits matter. There are thousands of ways to accomplish your goal. Find the one that's right for you. In summary, strategy number 1 to have more self-control is to free ourselves from constraints, making what we want and need to do as simple and enjoyable as possible. However, you will continue to be attracted to what you know to be wrong. What to do in these cases to exercise your self-control? 2. Practice your self-control with the 15-minute rule. For years, you have been hammering yourself with the fight against procrastination. However, There is a particular case in which our dear procrastination could be very useful for us. Postponing a temptation, even for a few minutes, is in fact one of the most effective strategies to get rid of it. The next time you find yourself having the urge to eat crap food, to obsessively check WhatsApp, to buy something useless, wait 15 minutes. Do not repress the impulse. Do not tie your hands. Simply postpone the temptation for a quarter of an hour. It's only 15 minutes. You can do it. In this period of time, dedicate yourself to something else, distracting yourself, or do something even more effective. Observe your impulse. Analyze it as a scientist would do in the laboratory. Label it, "Here it is. My desire has arrived to eat a jar of Nutella." Learn not to identify it with vice. It is only a product of your mind. Just as it came, it can go. Then let me know in the comments how it went after those 15 minutes. Did you give in or not? Number 3. Adopt the if-then technique. The key message I'd like to convey to you in this video is that you don't need brute force, but cunning to have greater self-control. After having seen how to minimize duty and postpone temptations, I would like to propose one last strategy, the if-then technique. But let me ask you a question first. When can you be more disciplined after a restful night of sleep and a relaxing day, or after a sleepless night and an exhausting day? Put in these terms, the answer is rather obvious. When we are tired and nervous, our self-control abilities collapse miserably, and we are thus at the mercy of events. According to the Canadian psychologist Michael Inzelicht, this phenomenon is called ego depletion. Of course, eating healthy, doing regular physical activity, and improving the quality of sleep are all good habits that can limit ego depletion. But no matter how careful you are, the day will always come when you will be sluggish, nervous, and tired. In these cases, giving in to temptations will seem like the only possible choice. This is where the if-then technique comes into play. Learn to define in advance what actions you intend to take when your self-control is limited, and you feel the urge to give in to a temptation. Here are some examples. If I feel like smoking a cigarette, then I'll chew gum. If I feel like opening Facebook, then I take a break and read a post. If I feel like eating a chocolate snack, then I munch on an apple. These, of course, are just examples. The main purpose of the if-then technique is in fact to dismantle the current signal routine gratification model of your bad habit. To make this strategy even more effective, my advice is to replace your negative reaction with an action that gives you equivalent pleasure, but has positive implications. How about this week, let's try to apply one of these strategies to strengthen self-control. I'd like to know in the comments which of the 3 piqued your interest the most. See you in the next video.